What's going on, all you Minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, and one of my favorite segments is back, where to begin reading certain characters. Today I'm going to be focusing on Moon Knight, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. So, this is one of my favorite segments to put together. I know it was you all that suggested me doing this for years now, and when I finally started doing it, I love limiting myself to 10, 13, just different books to best introduce people to these characters. So with the premiere of Moon Knight coming out on Disney Plus here in, oh my goodness, less than a week, I think, people have suggested I do a where to best start reading Moon Knight in collected edition. So that's what this segment is. I talk about where these characters can be found in trade paperbacks, standard size hardcover, oversized hardcover, omnibus editions, essentials, whatever editions are available out there. So if you've been interested about Moon Knight, who he is, what the difference is between Marc Spectre, who Jake Lokcley is, who Stephen Grant, who that Mr. Knight is that appears in the trailer, well, some of these books, actually all of these books, will be able to help you. So let's go ahead and get started with my number one choice, and that is, of course, if you are a fan of just having everything and reading everything from the beginning, I am, of course, talking about the Stalker called Moon Knight from 1975. Moon Knight created by Doug Moench, Don Perlin, and Al Milgrom. He was a mercenary that was hired by the committee to capture the title character of Werewolf by Night, and that's where he first makes his first appearance, Werewolf by Night 32. Realizing that Jack Russell isn't that bad of a guy, he decides to turn against the committee, and he kept coming back. Now, this is available in both the Epic Collection, it's been available in the Omnibus editions, Essential editions, so you can find this one pretty easy, because all of those are still, with the exception of the Essentials, those are still in print. So fast forward some years to 1980, the popularity of Moon Knight kept growing and growing. He kept appearing in different spotlights, guest starring in Marvel 2 and 1, and he finally got, well, he got his backups, but he finally got his own series in the 80s. And this is where you really find out who he is. So I am talking about the story arcs, particularly the Doug Moench and the Bill Sienkiewicz run. And the stuff they were doing there is stuff that no one else was doing in comics at the time. Bill Sienkiewicz's artwork was just so unique, so dark, so gritty, so real. So here's where you learn that Marc Spectre, he's the son of a rabbi, he served in the Marines. And I mentioned the son of a rabbi because that does come into play later on really strong. So he served as a Marine, he was a CIA operative before he became a mercenary. Along with his friend Jean-Paul Duchamp, who you probably have seen him. It's this kind of his sidekick named Frenchie. But in these particular stories, you get to see him make a deal with Khonshu, and he becomes the avatar of Khonshu, or the Fist of Khonshu. You get to see him creating these different personas like Stephen Grant, a multi-millionaire that funds Moon Knight, Jake Lokcley, who is a cabbie that gets to see the underside of New York City. So this is really where the origin and everything starts. Available in Epic Collection, in Omnibus format, and again in Essential formats. And I think there was a Marvel Premiere hardcover a few years back. So moving on to 1987, Steve Englehart and Al Milgrom decided to expand the West Coast Avengers, and they invited Moon Knight along for the ride. His series had been canceled, and he had just been kind of in an obscure corner of the Marvel Universe. So they brought him to join the West Coast Avengers during this particular storyline called Lost in Space and Time. So in here, you see him team up with Hawkeye, Tigra, Iron Man, Mockingbird, and Wonder Man. And I think it's very essential to his character to see him deal with a team and then dealing with things by himself. So these particular stories have been collected in Omnibus format, in Epic format, in Marvel Premiere format, and in Essential format, I believe. Now, there is no Marc Spectre Moon Knight from the 1990s. There's no collections of those yet. Like I said, the fourth Epic will have the first 6 issues of that era. I love that era. I'd strongly recommend it. It's some of my favorite Moon Knights. So the next place I do want to recommend, if you want to see him in the 90s and what he was doing, is in the big and it wasn't really a crossover event, but it was the 6-part series called Round Robin. It was by David Michelinie, who was writing Spider-Man at the time, and Mark Bagley. So here you see Moon Knight teaming up with the Punisher, Nova, Night Thrasher, Darkhawk, and of course Spidey. And they're up against Moon Knight's old sidekick from the Marc Spectre Moon Knight run. And this is a sidekick that Moon Knight left for dead. However, he survived, and now he's been rebuilt and working for the Secret Empire. This was a lot of fun, and to see him team up with Spider-Man, it's a different side of Moon Knight, because you have such a serious, broody character teaming up with such a lighthearted character. This has been available in an old school trade paperback. It's been available in Epic collections. Actually, there's been a series of 2 trade paperback printings, so this one should be easy to find. The Bottom. This is the 2006 series. Now, towards the end of Marc Spectre Moon Knight, something happens that takes Marc Spectre out of commission. You don't see him in the Marvel Universe for about a decade or so. Then in 2006, Charlie Huston teams up with David Finch to bring back Moon Knight into the spotlight and give him his own series. And oh my gosh, this was so brutally fun. And I think it's a great jumping on point. There is an omnibus that's coming out of this, but there have been trade paperbacks and Marvel Premiere editions released of this particular era. But this is where he takes Marc Spectre, the man behind Moon Knight, and talks about why he puts on the costume to fight crime. It isn't for revenge like Batman. Like Batman's parents died, and I get tired of people comparing Moon Knight to Batman. I think every comic book reader that hears that gets frustrated. But yes, it gets old. He chooses to go out there and beat the crap out of these villains. He is the avatar of the Egyptian god of vengeance. So for him, it's just the sheer joy of being able to do it. And that, compared to other superheroes that actually have a drive to go and do things, like Spider-Man, for example. Uncle Ben died, I gotta go and make sure that nobody's uncle dies again. Whereas Moon Knight decides to put those gloves on and beat the crap out of villains. And I think this is the run that made you think that it's brutal, it's bloody, it's so awesome. I love this run, and that's why I am 100% recommending this as a first jumping on point. Now, Moon Knight's popularity kept growing and growing, so we got Vengeance of Moon Knight, another series. Now, this series is a little bit different because I just said I get tired of people comparing him to Batman. However, if you love Batman, then this is the series for you. Because this is the series that Greg Hurwitz and Jerome Opeña take a different approach at Moon Knight. He's kind of like half Iron Man, half Batman in this series. He has little gadgets. He has bulletproof armor. And he has vehicles. He has like we've seen the moon wing before, but he has like a moon copter in this, a moon cycle, just for every possible scenario. And he comes guns a-blazing. Okay, that is the difference between him and, yeah. If you want to see a different take of Moon Knight, I think long-time fans didn't really appreciate the series, but I think it would be good for people that like the little gadgety aspects of Batman. Now, this is only available in trade paperbacks, and I think most of those are out of print. I don't know if Marvel is going to do a complete collection or not. Moon Knight just can't keep away from the Avengers. This time, shh, it's the Secret Avengers. This is when Steve Rogers, not Captain America, formerly known as Captain America, decides to form a team of, you guessed it, Secret Avengers to do some espionage stuff, to go behind the scenes, to make sure there's no spotlight on them. And who does he decide to recruit? None other than Marc Spectre, Moon Knight. And this is all brought to you by Ed Brubaker and Mike Deodato Jr. So they are a covered team of heroes working in the darkest corners of the globe to stop disaster from happening. So we also have Beast in here, Valkyrie, War Machine, and Nova. Now, this is available in trade paperbacks and Marvel Premiere hardcovers, and those are those standard size hardcovers for those people wondering, and in complete collection. Now, he's only in the first arc, and he kind of goes about his way later on, but, you know, it's not the last time he is with the Avengers. He does come back later on in Jason Aaron's run, and that's a little bit different. Probably the most controversial choice here that you're going to see is the Every Avenger. And no, it's not because I'm not the biggest fan of Bendis, but because this is regarded for longtime fans as probably the worst Moon Knight story. So it's Alex Maleev and Brian Michael Bendis teaming up again after the run on Daredevil and after they try to revamp Spider-Woman. They bring their talents to Moon Knight, and it's a completely different take on Moon Knight. I think that is the biggest issue with a lot of people. In this particular version, you see Marc Spectre now hanging out in Hollywood, making movies about his life as a crime fighter, and instead of dealing with the whole aspects of different personas that Marc Spectre has created over the years, Bendis decides that he's gonna now use that dissociative identity disorder to put Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Captain America in Moon Knight's head. So now when he's fighting, he can have Wolverine's like fighting abilities and Spider-Man's reflexes and Captain America's decision-making skills, and they're all living inside of his head. So like I said, it is far from anything you're ever going to read about Moon Knight, but if you enjoy Daredevil and you enjoy Brian Michael Bendis' writing, then this is absolutely a great jumping on point, as long as you know that nobody ever really followed up with that idea. There's an oversized hardcover of this complete collection that came out, couple of trades, and a actual complete collection that just came out recently. Those are the complete collection is still available as of this video. Now, I talked about a controversial storyline with Brian Michael Bendis' Moon Knight. Now I need to talk about a controversial creator. And it's a name that not a lot of people use these days, especially content creators, and that is Warren Ellis. And so there are accusations, lots of accusations against Warren Ellis, and you can look it up yourself. And if that stuff bothers you, then by all means skip this particular book. But to the people that it doesn't bother, that realize that it takes more than one person to put these things together, and can separate the artist from the art, then I am 100% recommending this. This is from the dead, because one cannot argue that this is not one of the best, if not the best Moon Knight story. It's one of my favorites. And I don't know if it'll be reprinted just because of everything going on. But this is the Marvel Now era of Moon Knight. This is when Warren Ellis teamed up with the Clan Shalvey to bring Moon Knight into so many people's radar. It not only became one of the best Moon Knight books, it became one of the best books being published at the time. Each issue feels like a different genre. We're given a look inside of the splintered mind of Marc Spectre, going through his different personalities, or maybe studying a little bit more about the dissociative identity disorder that he suffers from. The way that the creative team makes it look so easy, it's just so impressive to write 6 separate stories in a single run and make each one of them fun, dark, and engaging. And this is really where the persona of Mr. Knight comes from, if you've been wondering about that. It's Moon Knight when he's wearing a suit and he's helping out the police, but he's helping out the police not doing supervillain crimes, he's helping out just with normal crimes. Now, this has only been available in a hardcover, a standard hardcover, and a trade paperback. Welcome to New Egypt. It seems like in the 2000s, they were really revamping Moon Knight every couple of years. A new creative team would step in and do something different with him. There's been other creators that have come in that I wanted to talk about, but I'm limiting myself. So I am talking about Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood's all new, all different take on Moon Knight. And I say all new, all different because that was this era of Marvel. That's what it was known as. So here is where they take the character of Moon Knight, Marc Spectre, and put him into an insane asylum. Now, that concept has been done before, but I love the aspect of using the entire asylum as part of the story. So in this particular story, we do start asking ourselves as the readers, is any of this real, or has he been crazy all along? Has he really had dissociative identity disorder, or is he just schizophrenic? So it's like Marvel does One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which, like I mentioned, isn't a new concept, but like I said, taking the whole asylum as part of his crew, oh man, this was such a great story. 100% recommending this one for new readers, because you get to see a deep dive into the psyche of what makes Marc Spectre tick. And was he ever really Marc Spectre, or just the avatar of Khonshu all along? Oh, what a phenomenal story. In oversized hardcover and a couple of skinny trades, and recently in a complete collection that's coming back into print because it went so fast. So 100% recommending this one. The Midnight Mission. So just in time for that Disney Plus show, last year in 2021, Marvel decided to launch a new series, this time written by Jed MacKay and drawn by Alessandro Cappuccio. Both of them relaunching Moon Knight, putting him into readers' hands again every month. And it's an easy concept to understand. You're not bogged down by a lot of the history, and that's why I'm suggesting this one. So you've had the character of Moon Knight, aka Marc Spectre, Stephen Grant, Jake Lokcley, Mr. Knight, and what he's done is set up a protection agency in New York, and that's where the title comes from, Midnight Mission. So he's a protector to all these people that have come and seek asylum in this particular Midnight Mission. Now he has to do it without Khonshu. And what I meant by not bogged down by history, unlike previous runs, you're not bogged down by the history of all these multiple personalities. You're just dealing with Mr. Knight, Marc Spectre, and Moon Knight whenever he puts on the costume. You have brand new villains, some old villains that come around, but I think McKay does an amazing job of reintroducing them. This is new reader friendly 100%, and the reason I added it on my list, and my wife did an amazing job reviewing it. Now, something I like to do during these segments is talk about alternate realities. And when you're dealing with characters like Wolverine or Spider-Man, that's really easy because everybody wants to take an alternate take on them. There haven't been a lot of alternate reality Moon Knights. I mean, there's Marvel Zombies and a couple of during the Secret Wars era, but there's only two that I can really recommend. And the first one, if you've not read it, maybe it's just my excuse for you to read Earth X. It's the Earth X Moon Knight. I love this series, and in this version of Earth X, Moon Knight is an immortal. He just can't die. Because of the Reanimator Stone, Marc Spectre can never die, so it doesn't really ever need to be resurrected. And the next one I'm going to recommend is, of course, Ultimate Moon Knight. So if you've been reading Ultimate Spider-Man and you've never read the 616 Moon Knight, this is where I recommend you first read it. It's written by Brian Michael Bendis, and honestly, I kind of like this version more than I did his 616 version, drawn by Mark Bagley, and eventually, well, he sets a different path for that Moon Knight. It's a lot different than what happens in the 616 universe. But if you're a fan of Ultimate Spider-Man, then you are probably going to end up reading that particular issue sometime. So that's where I am best recommending these stories, and a lot of these stories, books, trade paperbacks, hardcovers, omnis can be bought from our sponsors. CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. If you live in Europe and are interested in pre-ordering or purchasing omnis, then you should definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices for Marvel and DC big books within the EU. Flat shipping of €9.90 for EU countries, extremely careful and sturdy packaging, emails are answered within 24 hours, and they have a superb selection of new releases and out-of-print books on their website. Just head over to waltzcomicshop.com for more great deals and rare titles. And for a limited time, you can use the code NEARMINTCONDITION, all one word, at the checkout for free shipping to all EU countries with your first order. Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. And that's it. That was my list of where to best start reading Moon Knight. One of my favorite, most complex characters in the Marvel Universe. Let me know what you would have added, what you would have taken away, what you haven't read. If you've never read Moon Knight and this list has helped you, please, by all means, leave those comments down below. If you have any more questions, leave your questions down below. This was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to our patrons for making videos like this possible. Could not be doing this without you all. And more importantly, everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.